We are diving into a heated discussion about cultural representation and the fight against negative stereotypes. Andre DiMino, president of the Italian American One Voice Coalition, joins us now to talk about his organization's mission to defend Italian American heritage, from a controversial mob-themed dog food commercial to recent skits on Saturday Night Live. Andre, good morning and welcome. And let's start with FreshPet. It's a Secaucus-based dog food company, and we have Steve Sciarippa on the ad. Anyone who knows him loves Steve. He's a nice guy. But their recent mob-themed commercial has drawn a lot of criticism just from your organization. A lot of Italian Americans are offended by it. Advocacy groups now saying this is perpetuating harmful stereotypes. Walk us through the ad and how it crosses the line, and what response have you gotten from FreshPet at this point?
Yeah, Ken, here we go again, back to the tired old stereotype of Italian Americans equals mobsters and mafiosi. You know, there's the scene of FreshPet, which is supposed to be a natural dog food. I just don't get it why they have to connect it with a mob scene of these mobsters around a table. Somebody comes in, sees the FreshPet in the refrigerator, questions it, and then they show him being, in essence, murdered in the back of a car in a trunk. And then afterwards, Steve Sciarippa's petting his dog. It's just, what is that supposed to mean for supposed to be a fresh dog food? It's just incredible. But again, they just go to the lowest common denominator, and Italian Americans, again, are subjected to this harmful stereotype.
I mean, if you pull back a little bit, and I get it, I'm on your side. I'm an Italian American, and I hate the references constantly as well. I've gotten it my whole life. People approaching me say, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't speak like that. Neither does my family, neither do my friends." So you could knock off that accent. But then you get the other side saying, "Hey, lighten up. It's Steve Sciarippa. He was in, Sopranos, and this is sort of a throwback to that. It's supposed to be funny." But what's not funny is, as you said, it perpetuates the stereotype.
Yeah, and it's so pervasive. We hear that all the time, lighten up in our organization. We just can't lighten up. Why is it that only Italian Americans have this non-political correctness? You don't see it with other ethnicities. It's just constantly out there with negative stereotype. And believe me, you may not see it, but for example, if somebody goes to rent an apartment or somebody goes to get a job, what's in the back of that person's mind interviewing them? Are they thinking about this mob stereotype? So, we don't know what damage this is, what's done with this, and it's just not acceptable.
And clearly so. I mean, I just saw a meme online. I'm not even going to get into the details because I don't want to dignify it, but it's regarding a town council and a mayor in a specific town in New Jersey. It's in Monmouth County. That's as far as I'll go. And the suggestion was that the mayor is a former mob hitman turned informant, and he's trying to kind of muscle control of the town. And I saw this meme, and it went on into detail. I thought to myself, number one, you better be very careful doing this meme, because you can get into legal trouble because you're making a lot of allegations. But number two, if what they're saying is true, this person did the right thing. If they were a mob hitman, they turned the other side and they came and did the right thing and informed and got people in trouble and left that life of crime. But yet the person in the meme had to point out the negativity, and it was so infuriating. It's like, okay, how about the fact that this person turned the other leaf, if you will, and changed their life? But no, that wasn't the focus of the meme. It always had to be the poke fun, wink, wink. So I get it, and thankfully, we have you to do this and represent and defend Italian Americans. And let's turn to Saturday Night Live. You called out that show for what you see as a pattern of denigrating Italian Americans. And most recently, there was an episode hosted by Lady Gaga, who is, of course, Italian American herself, including a skit your coalition found very offensive. What was it about the skit that hit a nerve? How do you reconcile that with Lady Gaga's involvement? And you know that her dad always loves his daughter, but her dad is much more on our side when it comes to protecting Italian Americans, and even politics and everything else. They kind of go their separate ways when it comes to that. Have you heard back from the show's producers, and what was the response?
No, I've been trying to contact Lauren Green at his company Broadway Video, contacted NBC, not a single response. Of course, I wouldn't expect them to respond because it was such a blatant attack on Italian Americans. They were singing the song "Wonderful Tonight" in this skit with Lady Gaga, and one of the cast members.
Mhm.
And right in the middle of it, they said, and we just don't realize Italians aren't white. And by the way, Ken, this is not the first time that Saturday Night Live went to this throwback to the late 1890s, because in a previous episode, Colin Jost during the weekend update was talking about Prime Minister Maloney and that she had some white supremacist ideas. And then he asked incredulously, what, we're now counting Italian Americans as white? So is this a new thing now at Saturday Night Live? Of course, they've done the mobster mafioso thing for years, but now they're going to go harken back to the bigoted times when Italian Americans were considered less than acceptable in this country. Come on, Saturday Night Live, cut it out.
And by the way, what if we aren't 100% white? And when did well, I don't want to get into politics out of respect for you and the organization, because I know your organization stays out of politics. This is me. So I'm sorry, Andre, I had to throw that in. But you have SNL tends to be one side politically. Since when would it be a bad thing to be other than white? And why is it being brought up? You would never say to somebody who is a mixed race person that they're half black or half white. So why do they feel it necessary to say that? It's just so unbelievable. And we know that Lady Gaga's real name is Germanata. And I've met her before. She's a lovely, lovely person. Her dad is a hardworking, talk about a guy, a hardworking, brilliant businessman. Here's a guy who's very proud of being Italian American. He's very proud of his family, his sister who died, named his restaurant in New York after his sister. And so I'm sure it must break his heart when he sees his daughter doing stuff like that on the big screen. But shame on SNL. But here's the thing. They have no ratings. So don't even worry about it. SNL, which used to draw 10 million viewers on a Saturday night, doesn't even draw a million anymore. Many nights they're drawing about 600,000 coast to coast, which is pittance. You could have more people in Central Park than you do nationwide watching SNL. So at least we have that going for us. But it's a shame that they feel that it's necessary to go down to that low level. On a more positive note, you recently led a successful effort to preserve Columbus Day on the Rockaway Township school calendar here in New Jersey. We had you on talking about that. A state, of course, with one of the highest percentages of Italian Americans in the whole country. I think we're the number 2 in percentages. This was the second time in a few years the Board of Education tried to remove Columbus Day. What did it take to win the fight? And why is keeping Columbus Day so significant to your mission? I should mention Connecticut has the highest percentage, followed by New Jersey. Why was it so important to you to make sure that Columbus Day stays on that calendar?
Well, first off, as we know, Columbus Day is still a federal holiday. And when these schools try to change it, it's just upsetting. And of course, they try to change it to Indigenous Peoples Day. We got nothing against Indigenous people, but give them their own day. Don't take away Columbus Day. And this is the second time we had to do this at Rockaway. The last time, a couple of years ago, they tried it. We preserved Columbus Day. And now again this year, it came up where they were going to change the school calendar for next year. But we had a whole contingent go down to the board meeting. I was there myself. And I think one of the things that really changed it was, we formed an alliance with the Native American Guardians Association, and
Smart.
they're there to preserve their culture with names like the Redskins and so forth. They're opposed to that cancel culture, and we've now aligned with them. And I presented a letter to the Rockaway School Board from the president of NAGA, Native American Guardian Association, where they want to preserve Columbus Day. So I think that had an effect, and thereabouts, when the board voted, it was unanimous to preserve Columbus Day on the calendar. So that was a win in this war.
Andre, that is so brilliant. It is cutting them off at the pass. Because what do they say to that? There was a meme, talking about a meme again. Online, I just saw of a guy who was Latino on a subway. Again, I don't want to get into politics. I'm not asking you to. This kid was wearing a MAGA hat on a subway. He was just minding his business. He didn't say a word. And a white woman started screaming at the Latino young man that he was racist. And he's like, no, I'm not racist. It turns out the guy was of mixed race. He's like, well, this is a white woman calling a mixed race guy racist. This is the same case. Here you have Native Americans siding with Italian Americans, telling probably a mostly white board, no, we're not against this, so drop it. Stop the silliness. So that was the smartest move, because they don't have an argument then. This is like guilt-ridden uber whites who don't know what to do with themselves, so they love to pick a fight. And by the way, yes, you're right. The Native Americans deserve 50 days, 100 days a year to be honored. God bless them. We love them. This is not about being anti-Native American. There are currently 3 days given to Native Americans on the calendar, actually 7 if you count some states, but 3 national days. There's only one for Italian Americans, and we're like 13%, 12% of the population in terms of who has even some mixed blood. Unbelievable. But God bless you, Andre DiMino, president of the Italian American One Voice Coalition. We love when you come on. Thank you so much for joining us today and for all you're doing, all your efforts. We appreciate you.
Thanks a lot, Ken. I appreciate it.